Hi, thanks for joining us today. My name is O.S. Owen, and I'm the volunteer recruiter for the AARP Foundation, and I'll be your host today. Joining us in the studio, we have Gwen Shaw, and she is a financial expert, financial planner. She's a financial person, and we'll go into more detail. If, in fact, you want to find out more about what we do at the AARP Foundation, and we are looking for folks for volunteers, and we do have some slots available, please feel free to reach out to us at 312-660-8655 or www.aarp.org/Experience Corps. So, Gwen,
hey,
thank you so much for joining us.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Out of your very, very busy schedule, because you're always in the community doing something.
Yes.
And that's why I felt that I wanted you to come on and share some information, with our listening audience about what you do in the community and what's going on in the Chatham community.
Yes.
So let's just kind of get right into it.
Okay.
What need do you fulfill in the community? I mean, what role do you play?
I think every community needs someone that has some financial expertise. And when I say that, I mean someone that they can look to for advice on everything from who do I talk to about getting a loan for a house. I'm having trouble at work, making ends meet, like maybe some type of debt management, credit counseling, although I do a little bit of that myself, but I do, refer people to that. And just having that person, setting up your 401k at work. What do you do? What do I choose? What kind of mutual funds do I look at?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of allocation? So, what I do is you need that education, because as a community, as individuals, we have a fundamental right for financial literacy. So that should be available in every community. But in certain parts of the community, in particular ours, there is it's limited.
So now, okay, some days you're a financial planner, some days you're a financial advisor, some days you're insurance. So what's your title? I mean, what should people refer to you as?
I'm a financial representative. That's my title with Country Financial, the company that I represent. Mm-hmm. And we feel that is a title that encompasses everything that I do, because I'm not just an insurance agent. Mm-hmm. I'm not just an advisor or a consultant. I'm also a combination of both of those things. So I help people with planning for their retirement. I help people to plan and pay for that retirement, as well as to protect their families and to protect their income. So it's very comprehensive, financial literacy and financial security. And I cover everything.
You mentioned the term financial literacy.
Mm-hmm.
For our listening audience, what is financial literacy? And give me the I guess, the...
You want the street word? Or?
The street words, yes. All the technical stuff is fine, but we're here in the community, and we want our folks to be able to understand exactly what financial literacy is, and you're the expert.
Yeah. I do a lot of workshops, as you know, and one of the things I tell them is, what does financial security mean to you? And it really is about having the what-ifs taken care of and have a plan in place so that all of the excitement behind it is off the table. One thing I say is, when you have a plan in place, you no longer have to make a decision. You can make choices. You know what I mean? The difference between making a decision and making a choice. You have choices when, where to go to on vacation, or where, to send your kids to school, or where I'm going to go shopping to buy a car today or something like that. You have choices when you have a financial plan backing it up. But when you have your car fails on you, like on your way here, or you run into an accident, I mean, certain things require you, when you don't have a plan in place, to make a quick decision or make a serious decision.
So having a plan is part of financial literacy.
Absolutely.
And it's more than just doing the numbers. It's understanding a realistic plan for the what-ifs.
It is.
Well, example right now, we've got a large group of folks who are out of work right now with the shutdown. So by them having a financial plan, they would be okay. However, those that don't have a financial plan, what's going to happen?
80%, I know you heard different numbers, 70%, 60%. Well, studies show that a little more than 80% of people live paycheck to paycheck. And so one of the things I always encourage people is, they used to say, the experts like myself used to say 3 to 6 months was good. And now we're saying 6 to 12 months is good, as far as having some type of security.
6 to 12 months of
emergency fund.
So how do you know what the emergency is? I mean, do you have a dollar amount? Is it 10%? Is it 5%?
You want to make sure that your fixed expenses, like you have people now being faced with eviction, being faced with being late on their mortgages. I've heard Section 8 people saying that they're not going to be able to have a place to live. And I know it's hard under certain economic situations. I know it's difficult, but think about this. Every year we have a situation where we get taxes, people get money back.
Refund, payday, right?
That's a good time to start thinking about, okay, instead of me going out and buying the latest whatever, gym shoe, TV, because Super Bowl is coming up, how about, why don't I put a little bit of this into an emergency fund? Just a little bit. A little bit helps. And I think people get overwhelmed with the whole idea of emergency funds, so they think that, I just got to drop this big lump sum into it a little bit over time. Imagine those people in that financial situation now. And don't get me wrong, what's going on with them is horrible. It's awful. Mm-hmm. No one could have predicted something like this. But nonetheless, had they had a plan in place, or some of them that actually do, they would be much better off.
So let me ask you this then. So we're talking about financial literacy, and it sounds more like financial education.
Yes.
As we as adults. So will my children get financial education in school?
Years ago, I would say no. It's getting better, but it's not where it needs to be. It's still not, there are still schools that are resistant to having it as part of their financial education plan. It starts at home first. So I tell people that if you teach your kids how to tie their shoes, how to ride their first bicycle, but you don't teach them anything about money, you can incorporate that early in their lives. So it's not just, I won't leave it just on the schools, but yes, we could do a better job in our schools and our Chicago public school system, as well as all over, Illinois. But we're still miles away from that, but it's still not enough. It's still not enough.
Well, okay, in this maze of financial literacy, financial education, financial workshops, insurance, why is it important to have insurance as a part of your financial plan? I mean, I'm paying out for insurance. What is that going to do for me?
Peace of mind. Think about today. Okay, I was driving down the street. When I tell you, at times like tonight, you can't see where it's slippery or where the ice is and everything. So just, the thought of not having car insurance, if you run into something or run into someone, which is even worse, I think, because it could get a little bit more, complicated or more expensive. Insurance is important, again, for those what-if type of situations. And I mean, it's just like my pastor said, it's better to have Jesus and better to have him and need him and not have it. It's better have insurance and not need it than to need it and not have it, because that's where the whole anxiety comes in our community, not having money for certain things.
We have a caller. Caller, you're on the line.
All right.
Hey there, Ms. Shaw. I'm interested in one thing. When you talk about financial literacy, how soon can you teach your kids, and what can you teach them? I have grandchildren 7 and 9. What would their financial literacy call for?
There are great programs. I still partner with an organization called Econ Illinois, and they used to have something called the Money Game, and that's just introducing simple. First of all, you have to teach the benefits of having money and what you can do with money. You can start off, a lot of people do it with just simple things like giving the kids an allowance for certain things. And I won't go into, details about what you should, give the kids the money for, but teaching them not only giving them an allowance for doing maybe chores or things around the house, but also teaching them about going to the bank. I remember having my own bank account when I was maybe 3 years old. So I think even 3-year-old primary children it's a good age for them to learn about financial literacy. Take them to the bank. Teach them the benefits of putting a little away and keeping a little, I mean, those are just simple principles that we can start with our little 2- and 3-year-olds.
Now, the Federal Reserve, they have a money museum. Have you ever been down there?
Oh, yeah. I love that place.
That's fantastic. In fact, the Federal Reserve has a thing called Money Smart Week.
Yep.
And they have the Money Smart Kid. And kids are encouraged to write out solutions to problems, to budgeting, to spending plans, to the world's problems. And I would encourage anyone, if you've got little children, go down to that money museum. It's a great outing, and it's a wonderful door to expose your children to money. It's how money was made, when it started, from the silver dollars to now. We go to what? Checkless checking accounts. We don't even use checks anymore. In fact, we're moving to a cashless economy.
That's true.
I mean, who carries cash?
Well, some of us still do. I still encourage my son to carry cash.
Well, I mean, I like it. I like it. I mean, I have a better control over it. But I mean, in fact, some of the restaurants that I've gone to now, Epic Burger in particular, they do not take cash anymore.
Right.
You have to use a debit card. So if you're not banked, if you're not financially literate, then you can't participate in this electronic system of transferring money back and forth.
But the good news is the kids understand the electronic part. My kids are the ones who taught me about Cash App. Okay, so they Cash App.
Cash App.
Oh yeah. So the kids understand the electronic part. Like even I go to the grocery store now with my cell phone, and a couple of times I've left my debit card at home. Take my cell phone, put it on a little device, ting. I just paid for my groceries. So
is that right?
The kids know the electronic stuff, the technology. They know all about that. We still have to teach the principal part about how the money got there in the first place. Because it's just not like when kids, I remember my son saying to me years ago, and I said, man, I'm broke, I need some money. He said, well, just go to the cash station. I'm like, dude, you got to put money in the bank.
So now, I mean, speaking of how the money gets there, all right. You have to save money. Now, we all know that you have to spend money, right? Because you've got to pay for food, you've got to pay for the rent. No one lives free. So you have to spend money, but also you have to save money.
Right.
And then what's this concept of pay yourself first? Explain that to me and to our listening audience. Pay yourself first.
Paying yourself first is simply first of all, you have to have a budget set up.
Now, first of all, what's a budget versus a spending plan?
They're pretty much the same thing, except your spending plan it generally falls on the side of your residual income after you've taken care of your fixed expenses. So your budget is is where your fixed expenses are, and your fixed things are, again, I talked about your where you live, so your rent or your mortgage, your car insurance, your car payment, tuition for the kids. All of those things are going to be the same thing every month. So that's part of your budget.
Those are fixed expenses.
Those are fixed expenses. Now for me, and this is just my definition of a spending plan, is having that a plan for that extra stuff. And part of that is setting some money aside for yourself as well. So unfortunately, again, because we do live in a paycheck to paycheck type of environment, some of us don't have a whole lot of residual income. We don't see the light of day with some things. And that's why a good financial planner, a good insurance agent can really be helpful to you to sometimes find some money.
When you sit down, you got to pay yourself first. Then you got to put money to the side to pay for the things that are coming up in the future. Then you got to put money to the side for those emergencies.
Yeah.
By the time I put money to the side, there's nothing left. So what would you tell someone who is just starting out here, working a little bit? How should they go about actually setting up a plan? And in fact, tell me this, so reframe that. What would be your 5 top things that you would recommend anyone and everyone doing who's out here working, whether you're 55 or under, whether you're 20? What would the 5 top things that you would recommend as a financial advisor that we should all adhere to these principles?
Well, one thing, setting up a budget is one of the top 5 things. Really understanding, what your monthly, your weekly income looks like, and having a plan in place for that. And that part of that plan is setting up a budget, because a lot of us just kind of freehand and just willy-nilly just go through the day. But I guarantee you, if you put something in place on paper, it really makes a bigger difference in terms of where the money's coming from. You can see things. It might mean you have to, get a second job, or it also mean that you might have to get rid of that cell phone plan and go with something a little cheaper.
So you're saying write it down. It has to be written down.
It has to be written down. Get a budget. Write it down.
Can I do a budget by myself, or do I need a professional? I mean, can I just sit down at home and sit down with the family and figure out where we spend, or what's the best way to do a budget?
Well, I think you can do it on your own, but with some guidance, though, because a lot of times people don't really understand what the fixed aspects of their whole life plan is. So I think it's okay to get some help. Matter of fact, I suggest getting some help, because we tend to overlook things. You were asking about the top 5. Another top 5, we pay too much for stuff. OS. What do we pay too much? Why do we pay too much? I'm going to tell you why we pay too much.
Cable, for sure.
Well, let me tell you another reason why we pay too much. We have bad credit. And I'm saying we, as a community, we pay what you might pay for insurance might be more or less than what somebody else might pay, just based on your credit score.
So let me understand. So my credit score rating has an impact on whether I'm going to pay high or low insurance rates?
Yes, absolutely. And I said that your credit will impact how much you pay for something. Even for something like insurance. You'd be surprised how many people don't know that your insurance is connected to your credit. They don't like it, but that unfortunately that's the way that it's been since early 2000s. So like I said, your homeowner's insurance, everything being equal between you and I, you know, if your credit is, let's say, 800, you know, your insurance is going to be less than mine, even if it's a 740, 730. Now, we don't use FICO scores. You use a different scoring system called an insurance score, but it is tied to your utilization, which a lot of people don't understand with their credit cards. So those type of things can really impact you. So we pay too much for stuff. So getting some credit counseling with some legitimate people, and I say legitimate because there's a lot of people out there that want your money to try to help you with your credit. Be careful about that. This is where an expert can come in and help you. When I say an expert, I mean someone that has the credentials to give you financial advice.
Okay, stop right there. So, okay, I want to go. So we got number one, do a budget.
Yes.
Number two, we're paying too much for stuff because of our credit, so
Yes.
we need to work on that credit.
Yes.
But now I want to hop to something that you just said real quick here. So put a pin in that. You said legitimate.
Yes.
So we're all afraid of folks running scams on us. I mean,
Yep.
credit counseling, the insurance. So
Yep.
what's the next step in picking someone that's trustworthy, that can help us with the budget, that can kind of overlook our financial plan? What are the traits? What should we be looking for?
Well, one, if someone's giving you financial advice, if they're giving you financial advice, especially about your retirement, they have to have the proper licenses in place for that. And like, for instance, I told you I was an insurance agent. Well, if I was an insurance agent, I couldn't give you financial advice because my license doesn't give me the ability to do that, not legally anyway. So a lot of people go to these insurance folks and they're doing things like annuities and such, you know, with their money. And people don't understand that they don't have the credentials for that. You got these financial educators, all these sophisticated new names that are coming out for people. How do you do your homework? There is an organization called FINRA that regulates people like me. It's
so there's a regulating body.
there's a regulating body.
FINRA, F-I-N.
Financial Regulating Authority, something like that. I always mess it up.
Okay.
But that's the gist of it. They have a website called brokercheck.org. Brokercheck.org, spelled BROCKER, check, CHECK.org. I think that's the right one. And they will list people like myself who have either a Series 6, a Series 7, 63, a whole bunch of series. You have to have that to give people advice, for retirement advice and advice on
So Series
financial planning.
6?
6, 63,
63.
65, 7.
So that's to give financial advice
Yes, to give advice.
for retirement.
For retirement
Now,
and to set up and do planning for
Okay,
you.
so advice, so that's a fiduciary relationship when you use that word advice.
You have to have you do have a fiduciary relationship, which means that you are responsible for other people's money. And what's tied to that is whether or not it's appropriate, or the word we use in my industry is suitable, if it's suitable for them. So you're a 70-year-old or 80-year-old, and I come to you and I say, hey, I got this great stock that I want to sell you. And is it suitable to sell an 80-year-old with all their money a stock? There might be, it could be, depending on what their other situation is. But you have to take the steps, and believe me, it's a lot of paperwork involved with that. So one is making sure that the people that are working with you have the credentials. Same for our insurance people. There's some insurance people, and don't get me wrong, I was a new insurance agent some years ago. I'm not going to tell you exactly, but I wasn't as experienced either in the business. But one thing that I did do, well, I had a company that was experienced and did have the backing, the company that had the backing and had the financial solvency, to support me as an insurance agent. And we had a great reputation. That's very important. Now, again, I'm not saying don't do business with your cousin Pookie as far as insurance, and don't give them a chance. But understand this. People come and go, and he, like you didn't say about me, but me being one of the first and only black women to have an agency, it says a lot in our community, but it also says this is not an easy industry for just anyone. It's a tough industry, but that's because we're supposed to do what's right for people.
And you weathered the storm. I mean, you're the first black woman in Illinois to have a country financial franchise.
Yes.
So that's a powerful feat, and to be in the black community, we have such a gem and a jewel with you. You're a nugget to us. So okay, let me keep it going. So we've got one, pay yourself first. 2, create the budget.
Right.
Right. 3, get somebody that's reputable.
Right.
So what would be the next one?
Well, I would throw in there is assess your current financial situation. Look at your financial situation, where you are and where you want to be.
What does that mean?
That means to have a good, honest conversation with yourself. You know, do you overspend? Do you do retail therapy? You know, look at yourself financially and say, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. Have honest conversations with yourself. The next thing you want to do is, and this is part of number 4, is to set a financial timeline for yourself. Where do you want to be in the next 10 years? 5 years, 1 year, what do you want?
Short term, mid term, long term.
Exactly.
Okay.
The next step after that is look at paying off a large debt. Look at paying off like your car, your home, you know, find a plan for that and place for that. And then my last step, which I've already talked to, which falls in there, is finding a person to help you with that, a reputable person to help you with that. So.
Okay, well, we've got a few more minutes left, and I kind of want to cover something real quick here. So, okay, I'm on a tight budget, and do I decide I'm going to buy food or pay my car insurance? I mean, are there any tricks or trades that you can share with us that we keep that car insurance? Because when the budget gets tight, it's one of the first thing to go is the insurance, is the saving for the life insurance, don't have rental insurance. And we think in our community that insurance is just something to have. But why is it important to have a car insurance, especially life insurance? And what are some ways to help us afford these things?
Well, again, that's where it comes to talking to a financial expert, because we shouldn't be putting more money on you and more bills and expenses on you. We should be looking at ways to find ways to do the things that are important. You have a financial house, a foundation, and think about a house the way a house is built. You don't start building a house from the top down. You start building a house from the ground up, which means you need to take care of those what-if situations in that foundation. And that's life insurance, taking care of your family in the event that something happens to you. The income is gone completely, so you got to make sure that that's taken care of. Taking care of the insurances, like I talked about, the health insurance, the auto insurance, the home insurance. What if your house burns up? What if, you know, it happens in the wintertime? People lose their homes and have no place to live because they don't have the proper insurances in place. But someone that can help you to get those things down. Some people think it costs extra money for this. A good financial planner, a good insurance agent should be helping you to find money. They should be helping you to reduce your bills because you got to pay for them anyway.
So, in the community, what community are you in, Gwen?
My office is in Chatham.
So you do a lot of financial workshops, a lot of things. So if folks were in the community and wanted to stop by and consult with you, would they be able to do that?
Sure, they will.
Tell us how they can reach you.
You can reach me. My office number is 773-487-0919, and it's located right in the heart of Chatham on 87th, right off Cottage Grove.
And if some person comes by and they say, hey, I'd like to talk to you briefly, or here's my insurance policy, can you take a look at it?
Absolutely.
Are you available to do that?
Oh, yeah. I have a beautiful office, too. So I have a great staff, and we have a great team. So, yes, definitely.
How long have you been in the community?
I've been in Chatham for 10 years. This is my 10th year.
So now, if someone wanted to get into this industry, you know, whether it be a male or woman, what would be the first step, and could they come talk to you about it?
I would recommend that, talking to someone who's been there, who's done that, who has had success in that business. I'm pro women because this is such a great business for women, for people that have families. It gives you the flexibility. You still have to work hard, but at least you have the flexibility. Like, I hadn't been feeling well for 2 days. I work from home, you know, but I have the office that I can go to. So it's a great business. And the most important thing, people need you. Our community needs more people in the financial industry. We need more African American men and women working in the financial industry. And there's tons of jobs in the industry. So.
Well, you've been self-employed for the last 10 years.
10 years, yeah.
Serving our community, doing various workshops and informations. Now, final question, are you required to do any additional training, to go to school, to maintain your certification, your licenses?
Yes.
What's required of you?
Yes, so I just did something the other day. I have different licenses, and outside of my Series 6 and 63, those are my security license. You have to renew those every 4 years, and then your insurance license has to be renewed every 2 years in the state of Illinois. In Indiana, I just got a notice today about I have to renew that license.
Chicago and in Indiana?
I'm licensed in Indiana, Georgia, Missouri, Illinois.
So you get around.
I do. So yeah,
Okay.
all of that.
Well, I want to thank you so much for spending time with us in the studio today.
Thank you for having
You've just
me.
had Gwen Shaw here, and she's given us some information for the community. Let me once again remind you that we're with the AARP Foundation Experience Corps. If you want to find out more about volunteer opportunities, please feel free to give us a call at 312-660-8665, 312-660-8665. And I'm here. My name is O.S. Owen. I am the volunteer recruiter for the AARP Foundation, and we've just had Gwen Shaw as our guest in the studio today. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care and tune in until next time.
Thank you.